mastoid air cells. The mastoid air cells are traditionally divided into several groups. Since the antrum is the site of origin of the mastoid air cells, the first to develop are the periantral and the tegmental cells, as well as the central mastoid air cells. The mastoid air cells are: number 1, the periantral cells. These surround the antrum on all sides and occupy the anterosuperior portion of the mastoid process. 2. Antral cells. These lie around the superior and lateral walls of the edifice and the epitympanum, and these are called antral cells. 3. Tip cells, also called apical cells, are usually large cells subdivided into lateral apical cells lying lateral to the digastric ridge and medial apical cells lying medial to the digastric ridge. 4. Central mastoid cells. They occupy the central area which extends from the antrum down to the mastoid tip. These are usually large cells and can further be divided into superficial and deep intersynofacial cells. 5. Perisinus cells. They lie around the sigmoid sinus and can be divided into posterior perisinus cells lying posterior to the sigmoid sinus, lateral perisinus cells lying lateral to the sinus, and medial perisinus cells lying medial and anterior to the sigmoid sinus. Because the posterior perisinus cells or the retrosigmoidal cells can reach far posterior into the occipital bone, they can further be subdivided into superior and inferior retrosigmoid cells. 6. Sinodural cells. They occupy the sinodural angle and are bounded superiorly by the middle fossa dural plate and inferiorly by the dural plate over the superior part of the sigmoid sinus. 7. Perifacial cells. They lie adjacent to the posterior and lateral aspect of the vertical segment of the facial nerve. The cells of the facial recess are also termed perifacial cells. Perifacial cells connect with the tympanic cavity above the fossa inclusus and not through the facial recess. 8. The retrofacial cells, which are located behind the fallopian canal of the facial nerve. 9. Zygomatic cells in the root of the zygoma. They are divided into lateral and medial zygomatic cells, which occupy the most anterior space between the posterior superior part of the external auditory canal and the middle fossa dural plate. These zygomatic cells can extend anteriorly far into the zygomatic arch. 10. Tegment cells in the tegment tympani, and they extend along the middle fossa dural plate, and these can be subdivided into the mastoidal tegmental cells, antral tegmental cells, and tympanic tegmental cells. 11. Perilabyrinthine cells located above, below, and behind the labyrinth. These cells present in the arch of the superior semicircular canal may communicate with the petrous apex. 12. Peritubal cells present around the eustachian tube. These and the hypotympanic cells communicate with the petrous apex. And lastly, number 13, the squamous cells lie in the squamous part of the temporal bone. We may also include the marginal cells which lie behind the sinus plate and may extend into the occipital bone, and the hypotympanic cells located in the inferior part of the tympanum. The 15 cells of the mastoid air cell complex. And these are the locations of the various mastoid air cells.